Welcome, my friends. This is Maniacal Incorporated reporting from Secret Police Headquarters, where I've been checking up on all of your files. We have files on each and every single one of you, and I've been looking through them. There's nothing of any interest in any of them. You have to believe me. We have a good few reports. Well, we don't. We have a report on the... We'll actually start here, as it's just a report. A report on education reform, which Kira Walda started at the last school, the most successful school in the country. We visited and said, no, everything you're doing is wrong. So Kira Walda has started ripping out the walls and has found a ton of asbestos. United Contana has launched a second satellite. Fair play to them. And there's the reports. The news. Greater Hallsword free of protests. So the secret police do mighty work. Gazom stagnates amid market challenges. So we did see that the last time around that the market is, or that Gazom is running into some problems. Kisaro Kibbener has been saying mean things about us and criticizing Franz Richter. I think I went over these at the end of the last episode. And demonstrators arrested. Too right, put the devils in prison. That's where they belong. So we have, I think manager Gus was down here. So the Grooney Rural Development Investment. So the investment is a proposal by Gus to bolster Sordland's rural economies and secure the nation's food sustainability. Oh no, we have no money. Fortify food security and elevate the regional economy. One potential strategy is the provision of subsidies for new farms, encouraging more players into the agricultural field. Oh, Gus. Alternatively, Manger proposes an investment in mechanization of existing farms to improve productivity, or the initiation of crop research. So we're at minus 11. We can go to minus 20. I don't think we're going to be able to do both. We will mechanize. Were we hearing something about crop failures at one stage? Crop research. We might be able to get some patents that we could sell to somebody. So there we go. We've lost more money. So government invests in crop research by promoting innovation and enhancing knowledge of crop growth. Crops, how do they grow? Who knows? Nobody. And if we could discover how crops grow, what it is that makes them reach up towards the sky, we might have an advantage in the world. Meeting with Gloria Tori on planned reforms. I think this is my first meeting with Gloria Tori. I arrived at the Grand National Assembly, which was only a 5-minute drive from my palace. I could have probably walked. Today, I had a private meeting with Gloria Tori, one of the leading figures of the USP, to get her approval for the proposal. She was also key in reaching 150 signatures to propose the new constitution, as she had extensive control over our party's conservative and moderate wings. Whatever this woman wants, I will give her, because I think she's also on the, isn't she on the Supreme Court? As I walked through the corridors of the Grand National Assembly, I was confronted by my memories of the historic building. Despite being a member of Assembly not long ago, it now felt like the distant past. I walked into the left wing of the Assembly, which currently acted as the quarters of the USP. Gloria's office was the first one inside. I knocked on the door and entered. Good morning, Mrs. Tori. We'll be very formal. Good to see you, Mr. Rain. It was a small, neatly organized office. There were small figurines, photos, and plants around the place. It had a homey feel, unlike my own assembly office when I had worked there. On her gesture, I took a seat and just left. The chair was very uncomfortable. That's the only thing I know about the most recent Naked Gun remake movie. I think Liam Neeson tells Pamela Anderson to take a seat and she literally just leaves the office with a seat. Fantastic. How are you doing, Mrs. Tory? I love what you did with the office. She smiled. A woman's touch, they call it. Like men cannot have a sense of tidiness or style. Which might actually be true. I had a barbecue in my office. Anyway, let's keep this simple, Mr. Rain. We both know why you are here. You need my support. What? No. Who's been telling you that? I don't need your support. I already have 150 signatures. I just wanted to see if you wanted to join in. I reviewed your proposal in detail. It's a fine draft. Your changes aren't major enough to cause any difficulties. Hooray! We're doing absolutely nothing. Window dressing the Constitution. I believe I can give you the help you acquire. She repositioned herself on the chair. Just don't forget, Mr. President. The Conservatives will be expecting a lot from you. Technically, won't the Conservatives be expecting very little? I will be expecting a lot from the Conservatives as well. Of course, whatever you need, Mrs. Tory, whatever you need. Yeah, whatever you need. I'll do anything. Good. I can get you the signatures needed for the proposal. I'll talk to the other Conservatives. I hope there won't be any surprises though, Mr. You literally said you read the proposal. Glad to hear that, Mrs. Tory. What surprises? I find your lack of faith in me disappointing. You have failed me for the last time, Mrs. Tory. What surprises? We have to calculate every possibility, Mr. President. After all, this is Sordland. Of course, I can't guarantee that all the Conservatives of the party will vote for your constitutional changes. I have serious reservations about privatising healthcare or the Swordish State Corporation. Are we privatising healthcare? The support of my faction can change. So she doesn't want to privatise but aren't they semi-private? That will depend, to some extent, on your policies, but the signatures, at least, are as good as gathered. Which policies make you concerned? I am concerned about the oligarchs and the state of our economy. I am worried that they may influence you for their own benefit. The oligarchs that I've had several dinners with, what would make you think, no? We expect you to succeed where Alfonso failed, in resisting their siren call. If you start privatizing healthcare or state-owned corporations, I doubt I can help you. I got privatizing and nationalizing mixed up. Yeah, I mean isn't the Sordid State Corporation, is it a fully nationalized or semi-national? It's a main government corporation. No, we've already had our opportunity to privatize education, and we said no. Have we dealt with healthcare? I don't know. We expect you to succeed. Don't worry, that won't happen. I'm not Alfonso. Yeah, that won't happen. Good. She stood up. I believe I've made myself clear. Thanks for stopping by, Mr. President. I hope you'll hold your promises. She extended her hand to me for a handshake. Once I took her hand, she immediately sat back down. I left the office with her hand. But now I need to get back to my duties. If you'll excuse me, Mr. President. Goodbye, Mrs. Tory. Thank you. I'll be expecting your wing support. Yeah. Because we do need them to vote for the thing as well. She only responded with a nod as I left her office. The Conservative side was handled, but to get to 150 signatures, I would still have to deal with Albin Claven and the Reformist wing. Swordish politician who currently serves as a member of the Grand National Assembly. Since 1949, he's a member of the USP and regarded to be the leader of the progressive faction of the party. I'm surprised that the Conservatives didn't throw more of a hissy fit. I'm delighted with the kind of the level-headed drafting we managed. I went outside. Serge drove me back to the palace, where I met Lucien and told him about the progress I'd made. I just showed up and she said, yeah, sure. Whatevs. BFF warns Wayland, Sordland, and Lesbia. Oh god, we've the BFF warning us, and we have Rumburg, who isn't warning us. In a startling announcement, spokespersons of the Bludish Freedom Front have released a statement condemning the government of Sordland, Lesbia, and Wayland for their mistreatment of Bludish citizens. Will these be the Bludish priests carrying out bombing attacks and killing people? The Bludish citizens that I've arrested with the secret police. The statement warns of potential action against these governments if they continue to ignore the will of the Bludish people. The BFF statement particularly targets the government. Yeah, why am I being dragged into this? They're deploying the army. Smollak is planning to carry out a genocide against the Bludish people. These shocking allegations demand immediate attention and action from the international community to prevent such atrocities. It's high time for these governments to listen to the voices of their Bludish citizens and respect their rights and freedoms. Otherwise, militant groups like the BFF will take the lead and push the region into violence. More violence than it's pushed the region into already, says you. Back to Hullsword. Lucian offers to play chess. Spend some time with Lucian to play chess or go home to rest with the family. I mean, he's offered. I think he's feeling lonely. We'll play some chess with Lucian. Is this going to be like Sordland rules chess? An evening chess match with Lucian Gallade. It's either this or go home and listen to Frank and Dina. Oh god. Face the wife after telling her that we're not going to let her make her little speech. Oh Jesus, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'd say Lucian knew well we couldn't go home. The army can only protect me outside of the house. They have no ability to save my life from an angry wife. Evening descended on the capital as Lucian and I found ourselves alone in my office. I followed my chief strategist's eyes to the chessboard on the coffee table. The sight of it reminded me of simpler times, of late-night strategy sessions, playing Civilization. We used to escape the political chaos into a world of rooks and bishops. Our battles were both tense and friendly, a reflection of our long history together. Lucian had always proved a challenging opponent. His strategies, both on the chessboard and in politics, had the same predictable, or unpredictable edge, I should say. A soft knock interrupted my reminiscing. Livia, you always kind of show up at awkward times. She came in with our usual coffee, so it's not an awkward time. She noticed the chessboard and smiled. Long nights of strategy planning and now a game of chess. You two never stop thinking, do you? Livia, always a pleasure. Even more so when you bring coffee. I don't think things are going that poorly with the wife. We might have to order dinner if the game takes as long as the ones we used to play. Absolutely. I'll keep the Maroon Palace chef on speed dial. Have a good game, gentlemen. She turned and left the room. Lucian acknowledged her exit with a slight nod. Lucian hates to see her go, but loves to watch her leave. His eyes still fixed on the board. Sure. I hope you remember that it's not always the king who holds the power. Sometimes a well-placed pawn can change the game. Isn't that the truth? I've used pawns for some of my best plays. Neither of them hold any real power, Lucian. It's the player who controls them. The power dynamics of a chessboard can teach us a lot about politics. Wouldn't you agree, Lucian? We'll go with that one. Absolutely. And playing chess with politicians will tell you more about their goals and plans than any speech. As Lucian positioned the pieces on the chessboard, it stirred memories of our early days in the United Sordland Party. His dexterous maneuvering reflected the unseen orchestration that helped Peter and me ascend through the ranks by constantly moving at right angles, because we were rooks. or jumping around the place like horses. As the final piece was set into position, the board transformed into a silent battlefield. Shall we get this game on the way, Lucian? Enough reminiscing. Let's start. Mortal Kombat music playing in the background. Ah, the impatience of a president. Very well, let's begin. Which colour do you prefer? Black as usual, or white this time? I'll take white, the honour of the first move. Black for me, I like the advantage of reacting. Isn't there an ever so slight advantage on white? A fine choice. Befitting of your drive to lead. The first move is yours, sir. Oh god, if I actually have to make chess moves. Steam Next Fest has just ended, and is it Gambonza was there, which was a roguelike chess game in which you could buy chess pieces and change the way they moved and change the board and change stuff, and I had no idea what I was doing. With the sides chosen, Lucian sat back, his fingers laced together in contemplation. And thus the game began. The opening decision was mine. The Zinan defense, or the King's, not the Queen's Gambit. That'll get us into copyright problems. Yeah, we'll go with the Zinan defense. I started with e4. Lucian replied with c5. I was initiating the Zinan defense, aiming for a dynamic and asymmetrical position. That was what I was planning for. Ah, the Zinan. A bold choice, Mr. Rain. This should be an interesting match. I thought I'd mix things up a bit, Lucian. Let's see how well you handle the Zinan. Well, I mean, if it's my first time playing white. I always enjoy a good challenge, Lucian. The Zinan should keep us both on our toes. Well, Lucian, I just randomly chose a piece, and apparently it has a name. I always enjoy a good challenge. It's a dance of strategy, Mr. Rain. Let's hope we both brought our dancing shoes. As a response to my Zinan defense, Lucian surprised me by opting for the open Zinan. No, you divil! Advancing his pawn to d4. He was pushing for control of the center early, looking to turn the game into a tactical melee. I keep playing and don't comment. The open Zinan, Lucian. You're certainly not shy about your intentions. Bold strategy, Lucian. It seems we're in for a battle of tactics. Yeah, we'll go with that one. That's the essence of chess, Mr. President. Oh, it's gone from Mr. Rain to Mr. President. It's getting serious. Exchange the pawn. Develop the knight. I don't think we've gotten the education reforms to a stage where we can fully develop the knight yet, so we'll exchange the pawn. I opted for an early exchange, capturing Lucian's pawn with my c5 pawn, aiming to equalize the position. With this, the stage was set. The opening maneuvers had transformed into a mid-game battle of wits. Each pawn push, every subtle repositioning, had been showing to Lucian's strategic prowess and my resilience. The next move would prove crucial. Flip the table. The stakes were sky high. Flip the table. This is the best time to flip the table. I could gamble with a Romish Gambit. So it's a bold pawn advance, could release my rook's potential and threaten Lucian's knight, or the Romish Gambit, a risky play that could wrestle control of the center away from him. Unleash the rook. Unleash the rook, purely because of the way it was worded. With a bold stride, I advanced my pawn, ripping open the f-file. The next move took a knight from Lucian. Keep playing and don't comment. A bold decision, leaving your knight in such a precarious position, Lucian. Chess shit-talking. That knight of yours, a daring sacrifice, Lucian. Your knight is mine. A worthy sacrifice on your part, it seems. A bold decision, leaving your knight in such a precarious position, Lucian. A sacrifice indeed, but one I'm willing to make. Some of my pieces will die. So Lucien moved his rook from the corner, adding pressure on my exposed bishop. Lucien made a bold move, pushing his pawn forward, and forcing my bishop into a vulnerable position, oh no. While the urge to secure my threatened bishop was strong, an enticing opportunity also lay before me, a potential double attack on Lucien's king and rook. We will absolutely sacrifice the clergy to fork Rizia. I maneuvered my knight expertly, landing it on a square that posed a double threat to Lucien's king and rook. A daring maneuver under fiery pressure. You're an adept tactician, but this is far from over. In response to my knight's threat, Lucien moved out the threat, creating a barrier between my knight and his king. Can you do that? You can just put up barriers. I don't know enough about chess to know if that's possible or not. I didn't think you could. You can just build barriers. Okay. Fire is the test of gold, Lucien. Isn't that what makes the game exciting? Only through fire do we learn the nature of the material. Isn't that what makes the game exciting? So we can exploit the back rank or pioneer pawn march. We'll try and exploit the back. I moved my rook to the last rank, threatening Lucien's king with a potential back rank checkmate. Clever, President Rain. But did you consider all the consequences? No, obviously no. The center was congested, a show of Lucien's unyielding style. His formation was formidable, his pieces interlocked in a matrix of support, each protecting the other, while simultaneously projecting threats across the board. It was my move, and the game had entered its final stages. Lucien's queen was uncomfortably close, radiating danger. I had only a few paths before me. Lucien's king stood vulnerable, but a risky move could leave my own king exposed. However, seizing the opportunity seemed worth the risk. Decoy the queen, reinforce the king. Decoy the queen. Is this a commentary on Rumburg? I boldly moved my queen, placing it in a position that exposed Lucien's king to a potential checkmate. A daring choice, President. It seems the end is near. But not for me, as Lucien draws a gun. If Lucien overlooked the threat I posed, victory would be mine. If he identified the trap, the game could stretch on, but the advantage would be mine. Well played, but it's not over yet. Lucien, caught in my trap, tried to navigate his king out of the danger zone. Despite Lucien's attempt to wriggle out, his king was trapped. My queen delivered the final blow, spelling a checkmate. The game was over, and I had won. It seems the king is cornered, Lucien. Good game. Checkmate, my friend. It was a well-fought battle. I see no way out. Well done, Mr. President. You've earned the victory. We learn more from our mistakes. Lucien and I slowly began to dismantle the chessboard, each piece carefully placed back into its protective casing. Lucien's eyes bore a far-off look. Perhaps he was replaying the match within his mind. He picked up a knight and turned it over in his hand thoughtfully. A difficult game, chess. The constant threats and counter-threats take me back to some similarly challenging times. They take me back to the budget debate like 2 days ago. Sounds like you've had quite a complicated past. We've never spoken with this man in our life. Threats and counter-threats, your past seems a lot more interesting than mine. Was there a particular challenge that still resonates? We all have our pasts, Mr. President. Mine happened to involve many moves and counter-moves, each with its own consequences. That's usually the way pasts go, Lucien. Was there consequences? A past of the Old Kingdom's final years? Were these consequences a part of the Old Kingdom's final years, Lucian? Yes, Mr. President. Those were trying times for Sordland, and like many others, I was caught in the crossfire of those tumultuous years. A shadow seemed to pass over Lucian's eyes, a hint of the turmoil that still lingered in his memory. I certainly don't wish to delve into matters that might unsettle you. Yeah, we'll say that to him. I've reconciled with my past and set it aside. It is not my intent to withhold information from you, but I believe we should focus on the future of Sordland and leave its history where it belongs. On that note, it's time for me to depart. I thoroughly enjoyed our match tonight, Mr. President. Oh god, now I have to go home. Safe travels. Win or lose, there's always something to be learned from a round of chess. Good night, Mr. President. As Lucian exited the room, the memories of our game lingered, as did the enigmatic aura of the man himself. Very disappointed with that. No report in the newspaper about my victory. Meeting with Albin Claven on planned reforms. After our meeting with Gloriatori and further discussions with the party and my cabinet, it was time to talk to Albin Claven to get the reformist wing to support the proposal. I also plan to finally present a more fleshed out proposal and declare our agenda to the party after our meeting. I walked into the left wing of the assembly and entered the quarters of the USP. When I reached the meeting hall, I saw many of our members conversing outside. After taking a glimpse inside, I went back into the corridor to look for the office of Albin Claven, which was around the back of the place. When I reached his room, I knocked on his door and entered. Mr. President, welcome. The whole room was surrounded by bookshelves packed with files and papers. It was a small office with books and dossier lying on every corner. It felt claustrophobic. On his gesture, I took a seat into the hallway and put it beside the one that we took from Gloriatori. How is everything? We're not going to ask him, did a bomb drop in the office? It's been busy. The party has been working very hard, Mr. President. Thank you for asking. How is it going with you in the palace? Oh, it's pretty tough, man. You know, chess, barbecues, the wife. I can't imagine the works you're dealing with up there. I wanted to express my gratitude for passing the Workers' Rights Act. It is one of the most comprehensive and successful political efforts. Well, there's a way you can thank me, Albin. The workers' revolution will begin with small steps. It was the right thing to do because our workers were suffering for decades. The party effort had to be supported. You and I see eye to eye on many subjects, including this one. Music to my ears, says Albin. It wouldn't be possible without Pascal Benewall's support. The Labour Union and several NGOs like Magnus Cartus also contributed to the campaigning. I have to say, the close collaboration between the palace and the party is going well. Looking forward to what we can accomplish with the reforms. Albin smiled and knocked on wood. Anyway, sir, let's talk about the proposal. Thanks for coming here for my input, because there are some subjects where Gloria and I don't see eye to eye. You want to privatize healthcare? I have to say that most of the progressives were already starting to warm up to you. Your attempt at changing the constitution created quite a bit of excitement. One could dare to say an excitement that hasn't been felt since the 30s. Yet, there are some issues with the current status of the draft proposal, so we may need to contain our excitement a bit longer. I suspect that Miss Tory had a lot of influence on this proposal, but I cannot support this in its current state. What's the problem? Where to even begin? Reformists were expecting a reform about the term limits. Why is that not included in the proposal? That wasn't a priority. Yeah, it's only my first term. It's too soon to bring in term limits. So, you also want to use the flaws of the system for your own benefit. If the people want to vote for me, the people can vote for me. That's democracy. Could you tell me what is your priority with this proposal? Limiting the legislative powers of the Supreme Court, balancing the divisions of power, bringing down the Constitution. You should have read the manifesto. Limiting the legislative powers of the Supreme Court. Fair enough. Yes, Albin, it is fair enough. He looked down at the proposal. There might still be a way for me to get behind this. There is not enough. This is not enough, Mr. President. We can take another look over the draft, or perhaps there is something else you could offer me. Let's look at the draft again. I will give concessions. Sure, I'll offer you something else. I'm all... Wait, what do you want? Do you want to be Minister for Education? If you give us your support, you'll be my Vice President in my next cabinet. Who is this man? I'll give him education. Nominated himself as the next candidate, but did not get much support in the Congress, which eventually led to the candidacy of Anton Rain. Can we not? You're not going to be VP. How about a position in the cabinet? I think we can achieve a lot if we lead together. Well, if you promise me the position of Vice President. No. That's a shame. I'm sorry to say there's nothing I can do for you, Mr. President. Good luck with uniting the party under your reforms, but I guess you will be uniting the party. But I guess you will be uniting the party against you like this. Which is an achievement too, I guess. Anyway, I need to get back to work, Mr. President. I'll be expecting the reformist support, Mr. Clavin. To think that we're going to be coming down against the reformist wing of the party with the Conservatives backing us. That man there is going to have the Conservatives supporting him against the reformists. The meeting had exhausted me. I don't like Clavin. Peter is a drunk. But I don't like Clavin. I went to the restaurant of the assembly to get something to eat while conversing with the other members of our party. I saw Albin talking to his people in the distance. Apparently he doesn't have many people because he couldn't get enough of them to support him to run in the last elections. After a while, the preparations for the conference began, and I went back into the conference hall and prepared my notes for the speech I was going to make. It took time to get all the present members of the party inside the hall. Gloria Tori announced me from the stand. I walked up to the stand as everybody in the room started clapping, even Albin. Ladies and gentlemen of the party, I came here today to announce the agenda for the future of our country. I started my speech with the reasons of the changes to the Constitution. Our system and institutions have increasingly become undemocratic. There are even people saying that there should be term limits. The Supreme Court is blocking the future of Sordland. Do I want to openly say that? No, which is why I'm going to click on it. The Supreme Court is blocking the future of Sordland yet again since President Soll has placed these judges there. They believe that they are the sole protectors of the Constitution and real leaders of Sordland, even though they weren't even elected. We must be brave enough to break their power over us and bring the change Sordland has been so eagerly waiting for. I paused when some people started clapping, but it was short-lived. After taking a breath, I continued. Abortions for some, miniature American flags for others? Talk about democracy, talk about why USP needs this to survive the next elections. I brought attention to the people's protests and the slight decrease in the popularity of USP. I explained how our proposal will only be beneficial for everybody. That's gone down a lot better. Basically, I'm saving everybody's job. The moderates that sat in the centre started applauding. Later, I explained the contents of the new constitution and asked for their full support for the proposal. Ask. I asked for each and every member's vote to make a change together. The Conservatives, on the right side of the hall, where Gloria sat, stood up and started clapping loudly. After I saw Gloria making a gesture with her hands, I saluted everybody in the room one last time and bid them farewell before leaving the stand. I walked outside the assembly and back into the palace. Not gonna lie, very surprised that we seem to have failed to get the support of the reformists. The moderates seemed happy, whoever they are. So that's some way good. President meets his own party. It was later reported that President Rain used the meeting to give a speech to the party and announce the contents of the first draft of the Constitution. The details of the meeting were not made public, nor what the draft contained. I suppose we're hiding it from those devils on the Supreme Court. We will continue. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Oh no! We've run out of ink. Things have gotten that bad. Archaic state of Sordlands. Conscription laws. Uh-oh. Why are we talking about the conscription laws? Dear reader, I ask you this. What year are we in? The 1880s? 1920? That's a decade then, not a year. The matter I am writing about is, of course, mandatory military service. Again, in times when there are no active war, when there's an active threat on the border, why do we still need to have these archaic conscription laws? Because Joseph Lancia will go absolutely ape if we get rid of them. Rain to meet with Smollett and Van Hoorten. That's news to me. Sordland is embarking on a great geopolitical gamble with the new trade initiative organised by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The hope is the solidification of relations with the old ally Agnolia and the troublesome neighbour Wayland, with the aim of regaining some of the regional diplomatic influence the country used to have. That's how desperate we are not to go home to the wife. We're leaving the country. We're going on a trade junket somewhere. That still hasn't gone anywhere. Infrastructure at full capacity in Benfey. The bustling city of Benfey is facing infrastructural challenges at its airport and port facilities. They are at full capacity due to high volumes of logistics and tourist travel. The situation is raising concerns over the ability to sustain the growing demand without causing delays and disruptions. Infrastructure expansion and modernization are being considered. That's great. So, we have a report from the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health has begun work on a health report with a proposal to allow privatisation in the health system to potentially generate new resources for the ministry. Minister Benny Wall is personally overseeing the discussion and the report, with top aides including members from the National Business Council. Well, of course, that won't be happening, especially now that the reformists won't back us, apparently. A confrontation between the superpowers is causing global economic problems. Superpower trade war. Oh, Jesus. A major naval confrontation between United Contana and Arcasia at the Gulf of Rica caused a global trade disruption. The Gulf, where half the global trade flows through, was blocked. Following the event, Arcasia imposed considerable tariffs on CSP goods, which triggered a temporary trade embargo on all Arcasian goods from the CSP. The massive financial impact was felt around the world. Not my budget. I need that. So policies. Fiscal protection measures. Sordland has implemented robust fiscal protection measures aimed at safeguarding the national economy against potential shocks and ensuring its long-term sustainability and growth. Everyone, hand in your gold. Private gold ownership is now illegal. Give it to me. Give. Global trade war. A confrontation between superpowers has resulted in an economic war with sanctions and embargoes disrupting global trade. Without effective measures to address the underlying issues driving the economic war, the situation may result in reduced investor confidence, job losses, and reduced economic growth in affected countries. Oh no! Not an economic war. These lads can't even afford ink. The giants clash. The cold economic contention around the globe between the ATO and CSP is turning hot, with direct actions of tariffs and sanctions being imposed by the two opposing superpowers. Our editorial team at The Economist believe in a globalist system that can have different ideologies, regional blocs, and economic systems, but still trade and prosper together. War would shatter this world into pieces. Nations must learn and practice coexistence. Global economic war begins. The overthrow of the democratically elected leader in Libya was unjust and undemocratic. So is this something that the CSP has carried out? As expected, the economic reaction from United Contana, so I think Arcasia may have done that, and United Contana has now carried out a blockade of the Gulf of Rica. Confrontation at Rica causes trade war. The eyes of the world turn towards the Gulf of Rica when the Arcasian Third Fleet and the United Contanan Rica Fleet met at a huge escalation of tensions between the two superpowers. The confrontation was triggered by the Arcasia-led coup of the left-leaning Libyan leader, Atenur Ladafe. The leader was democratically elected twice under the system, but overthrown by a nationalist colonel named Zediu Ogrunwa. Oh, those devils, they do love coups. The Libya confrontation and the subsequent naval blockade of all ships has caused a massive disruption of trade and production goods that drive the economy of Sordland. The immediate effect in Lakeven was felt at the port when hundreds of scheduled ships failed to arrive. The collapse of this vital logistic supply chain has caused a massive economic downturn. Religious Harmony Bill. In an endeavour to promote religious harmony and unity, the Grand National Assembly introduces the Religious Harmony Bill, or HB, establishing regulations for religious affairs across Sordland. Section 1 mandates that all sermons conducted during the day of dissension ceremony at the Arch Sanctuary of Dyer will henceforth be held in the Sordish language. This move is aimed at promoting inclusivity and common understanding amongst worshippers. Section 2 of the RHB regulates the language of sermons in other sanctuaries across Sordland. It prohibits the use of Bludish for sermons unless explicit approval has been obtained from the Archpriest of Sordland. This measure ensures consistency and unity in religious practices across the country. Section 3 of the RHB sets forth new regulations for priests seeking state-sanctioned positions. It requires that all applicants must have Sordish lineage to be eligible for their salaries and pensions. This criterion ensures a deeper connection with Sordland's cultural heritage. Among the religious leaders of the country, you must have a tattoo on your left wrist showing your Swordish blood purity percentage. Veto. That's not going to go down well. I wonder will that go down well in the Conservative. They didn't say anything about religion, did they? They said don't privatize healthcare. That's not going to go down well in Bludish factions if we sign that. Now, having just gotten the whole people being murdered every 5 minutes under control, now is not the time to go banning the use of Bludish. I don't think the state should be involved in religious affairs anyway. Superpowers offer aid. United Contana and Arcasia are offering aid in return for military access. Oh no. Oh wow, the United Contana will give us more. I wasn't expecting that. The governments of United Contana and Arcasia have posed a significant financial aid package to Sordland. This assistance is conditional on certain concessions pertaining to Sordland's strategic military installations. Specifically, United Contana is seeking docking privileges at the Conriath naval base, as well as transit rights through Swordish territorial waters for its vessels. On the other hand, Arcasia is requesting landing rights at the Erleroy Air Force Base. Beyond that, they are asking for permission to conduct occasional Air Force rotations within Swordish airspace. This quid pro quo agreement, while offering substantial financial benefits, would increase the military presence of both United Contana and Arcasia within Sordland, marking a significant shift in the region's geopolitical landscape. We will accept Arcasian aid. Ireland comes under a lot of criticism for allowing... I won't say comes under a lot of criticism, but we insist that we're neutral. However, the United States is allowed to use Shannon Airport. And we claim that you can't bring weapons through our airspace. We don't check. There are newspapers that have managed to find manifests that have showed that weapons have been brought through Irish airspace and that we are utterly powerless to do anything about it. And that it's entirely possible that rendition flights have landed at Shannon Airport. So we've tried to defend... And not defend ourselves, but we've tried to say, look, no, it's fine. None of this is real. Just stop asking questions. We need to keep on the good side of the US. So we're going to kind of commit ourselves in the same way here. We would get more money if we had gone with United Contana. I know that we've committed to self-sufficiency, but I imagine that we are also kind of considering that most likely Arcasia would be in a better position to help if we run into trouble with these devils. Like Arcasia is right on their borders, I would think. They're down there. There they are. I actually don't know where Arcasia is, but the ATO would hopefully come and help us, because that's our main concern, is to make ourselves useful to the powers of the world, basically. United Contana has voiced its disapproval of the financial accord between Sordland and Arcasia. Chairman Malinyev criticized President Rain for inviting the ATO to meddle in the affairs of Eastern Marcopa. In a firm stance against perceived Arcasian imperialism, the chairman has vowed to defend the sphere of influence of the CSP. Are we in the CSP sphere of influence? I suppose we are. Rain's weak international leadership. President Rain's recent decision to accept a substantial, it wasn't substantial, aid package from Arcasia adds another dubious entry to his growing record of weak leadership decisions. This move, far from demonstrating a proactive response to Sordland's economic struggles, instead paints our nation as reliant and submissive. Reflecting back on Sordland's proud history of robust leadership on the international stage, one can't help but mourn its apparent decline. The Arcasian deal comprising financial assistance, logistical support and equipment aid appears at face value to be a boon for our struggling economy. It really doesn't. Yet it comes at the cost of granting Arcasia refueling and repair access. That means they'll take stuff from Gazom. This is fantastic. This is a great idea. This is brilliant. I should have thought of this earlier. So they're giving out to me about weak leadership and then lauding me for protecting religious freedoms. The MP to propose the bill was, of course, Casaro Kibbener, the leader of the NFP. Had never stopped his attacks on the Bludish people. President Rain's decision to veto this discriminatory bill, which was a clear attack on religious and personal freedoms, will be welcomed by. So it's not a sign of strong leadership, no? No? Okay. Arcasia given airbase access. And Arcasian Air Force rotations. So military cooperation. That's very much not what Ireland is doing. IRL, but we do provide the use of Shannon Airport for transport craft, generally for transporting troops. But again, there's absolutely no checking of what's actually happening on those flights. As part of Arcasia's considerable aid package to Sordland, including financial, logistical, and equipment support, they will gain occasional flyover rights and refueling access at Erleroy Air Force Base. That's pretty much what we grant the US. Flyover and refueling access, yeah. A call from... Oh, that's the other reason, is my shares. my shares in Arcasia. That did, I won't lie, that did ever so slightly factor into our decision as to why we're keeping closer to Arcasia than the CSP. They don't have shares. I was sipping my first cup of coffee for the day when the phone lit up and rang. I swore under my breath. I thought my schedule was clear for at least half an hour. I picked up the phone. Mr. President, how are you? Not so great. You must have seen what is going on. You? The trade war has us on edge. We've been working on mitigation measures for the rural economy. I am calling you because I just heard from the CEO of Armadine Industries, Aaron Bridges, regarding the recent initial public offering on the Ventry City Stock Exchange. Ventry has a stock exchange? As you might have guessed, it's about our little venture investment of 1,000 shares, worth nearly 1 million ren. Thanks to the ongoing trade war, I was told that the Armadine stock prices plunged after the IPO. The markets are very... God damn it. Don't worry. Our stocks are still secure. And they advised us not to sell because a recovery is expected in the near future. However, this means that we have not made any profits, and on the contrary, have lost 50% of the value compared to their initial purchase. I'm sorry, Mr. President. God damn you, Gus. You know what they say, don't invest what you can't afford to lose. At least we didn't invest much. I invested everything I have. Wasn't Conrath Carenti the one that said that, not to invest what you can't lose? He was a visionary for the free world for sure. Regardless, we still have a hold on our stocks. I am confident once the effects of this nasty trade war subside, we'll recover the value of our shares and then some. Let's hope so. Anything else? I won't say I want to trust you, Gus. It's not like Gus is controlling... It's not like Gus is controlling the actual price of the shares. Anything else, Gus? That's all I wanted to talk to you about, Mr. President. Okay, thanks, Gus. Very well. Bye-bye. Oh, I almost forgot. The management sent me one of their brand new radios as a gift. Mr. Suno will bring it to you. Or, the management. Management of what? Oh, Armadine? Goodbye for now. We got a collectible! Collectible Armadine radio. I presume because the only way to get a radio is by owning shares in the company. We are going to have to register this, that I received a radio. Oh no, are they going to be laughing at me in my bed? Jesus, those guys. Still nothing. Armadine stock losing value. No. The CEO of Armadine, Aaron Bridges, announced the massive IPO this morning at the Ventry City Stock Exchange, with the opening value of the stocks crashing by half. If it's... Wait. You knew... Why didn't you cancel the IPO? Big investors like Herman Yates and Hole Lusk, boys oh boys, have pulled their investments to cut losses. Images of shocked traders were visible on the Ventry Times newspaper. Uncertainty struck the stock market globally. Should have put it in Bitcoin. God damn it. Leroy. Private party at the Gentleman's Club. That always cheers me and Peter up when our shares tank and go to hell. What's the other one? A briefing on the state of the immigration regulation. No, Gentleman's Club. Far from becoming accustomed to my workload as president, it's a tough life being president, going to all these gentlemen's clubs. I only felt more and more snowed under as the weeks passed. It had been ages since I had any time to myself. I was starting to lose my focus, and my temper was growing increasingly thin. Peter was the first to realize I needed a break. After much cajoling, he finally persuaded me to come to a meeting of his new venture, Gentlemen's Club. For the past few months, Peter, you are the goddamn vice president. Why the hell have you spent the last couple of months setting up a gentleman's club? For the past few months, he'd been hosting a salon of sorts, not just for politicians and businessmen, but also for artistes, entertainers, people of taste, he told me, with a smile on his face. There was only one rule: no wives or girlfriends allowed, hence the name. And so I found myself in front of his new luxury villa in Leroy. Fine for some. Very loud jazz music emanated from inside. I waited and waited. Finally, Peter opened the door. I could smell the whiskey on his breath. What? Yeah, that's the same as always. Anton! Finally, now the real party can start. Come on in. As soon as I entered, Peter closed the door and turned to the small crowd. Gentlemen, a minute of your time, please. I now have the privilege to present to you the man himself, the fourth president of Sordland, Mr. Anton Rain. I'd known him for long enough to understand that he was more than a little drunk. He made an elaborate mock courtesy. As I passed him and walked into the room, the music stopped, and I felt everyone's eyes on me. Thank you, Peter. What's next? A choir? A marching band? And I present to you Peter Vectron, the first alcoholic vice president of Sordland. I don't believe that for a minute. Good evening. Peter nodded to me and turned to the attendees. Imagine if we sacked Peter and put that boring Albin Clavin in. We might get a constitution out of it, but then we'd lose the Gentleman's Club. Dear members, please give a warm welcome to our very special guest. If I may, Anton, here, take this. He handed me a glass of whiskey and put his hand on my shoulder. We all know why we're gathered here tonight, to celebrate life, to have a brief escape from our tumultuous professions. I personally don't know any better cure for stress than a little drink. Only a little one? A few people in the crowd chuckled, and some raised their glasses. Now, the tradition dictates that as the club president, I have to remind you of the house rules. There are 3. No politics, no wives, no one sober. Cheers! Peter drank the whiskey in his glass in one go. Sip your whiskey. I took a sip from my whiskey. Anton Rain might have the power to make presidential decrees, but I, Peter Vectron, the president of this club, now declare this party started. Music, go! The band started. There's a band? I thought it was like a record player or something. The band started up again. After greeting the crowd around me, I felt a hand on my shoulder. Let me show you around, says Peter. We walked through the corridors of his mansion. Statues and paintings lined the stark white walls. An arched window provided a view of the neatly manicured grounds, complete with a swimming pool. A grand lesbian marble staircase led up to the second story, where I presume his wife is hiding in terror. Peter gestured to the massive crystal chandelier hanging overhead. That chandelier was made in the 18th century. Can you believe it? There's even a hedge maze in the garden. Yeah, how are you paying for all this? Because, Peter, I lost all my money in a shitty investment. I let you in on a secret. Gus Manger has a lot of contacts in real estate. He brokered an amazing price. I thought you were going to say Gus gave you share advice for shares that didn't collapse in value. He'll also be here tonight, by the way. Why am I not surprised? Gus, the wheeler dealer, would be right at home at a party like this. Perfect. I don't have money to invest. The state doesn't have money to invest. Nobody has money to invest. Why can the state go to -20, but I can't? What did you promise him in return? Only my money. We continued walking until we circled back to where we had started. So, what do you think of my little hideaway? Not bad. Not bad at all. Well, where? Thanks. You know that you, Monica, and the kids are always welcome here, except when the gentlemen's club convenes, of course. Anyway, let's get back to the party. I arranged some caviar to be brought in from Lesbia. You're going to love it. He opened the door to the main hall, and we rejoined the other guests. The music was louder now, and the mood decidedly more inebriated. Cocktail waitresses were carrying around plates of canapes, wearing dresses that left little to the imagination. I thought this was a gentleman's club. Yeah, so this is what you've been hiding from Evelyn. No one is hiding anything. She knows how important it is for men like us to blow off steam once in a while. He averted his gaze for a second before calling over one of the waitresses. She was in her mid-20s, wearing red lipstick, her blonde hair neatly tied in a ponytail. On her plate were toast points slathered in lesbian caviar that Peter had mentioned. I took a bite of the caviar. It was rich, salty, tasting of pure seaside. We are talking about the caviar. I could almost hear the sound of waves and seagulls. Yes, lesbian caviar, best in the world. I'm telling you, Anton, there are few pleasures in life that are this. As the waitress left us to serve another attendee, she flashed a quick smile at Peter over her shoulder. He smiled back a little too broadly. Sensual. His eyes were still fixed on her. Hates to see her leave, but loves to watch her go. With an expression I remembered from our many nights out together as students. Oh, look, here's Gus. Why don't we go talk to him? I'll be back in Where's Peter off to, Peter? Don't make a mistake. Mistake? What are you talking about? I'm just going to the washroom. See you shortly. I think we're going to have to... I think we might be looking for a new vice president. He left the room and I headed over to Gus. Gus was standing next to a couple of men that I recognized as banking industry magnates. As I approached, all of them turned to me and bowed their heads. Mr. President, a toast to our new member, everyone. Gus and I clinked our glasses as the people around us raised theirs. You don't seem at all surprised to see me here. How long have you been a member? I heard this mention is a result of your connections. That's right, I do have a wide network in real estate. Peter told me a couple of weeks ago that you might be interested in potential... I don't have money for potential opportunities. Gus, I put my money for potential opportunities into Armadine, and I got a radio out of it. I invested every penny I made in my career as a politician, and I got a radio. Let's take a walk, says Gus. The balcony has an amazing view of Erleroy. We left the room and made our way to the balcony. On the way, he took out 2 cigars and held one out for me. Take a cigar. I took the cigar and started smoking it. Mixed with the taste of whiskey, it was delicious. We went out to the balcony. All of Erleroy was at our feet. From the vantage point, I was able to see how expansive the building plot was. The swimming pool and the hedge maze were visible from here. Leaning over the railing, I admired the view for a moment before Gus spoke up. I know you're wondering about the deal Peter made. In a nutshell, thanks to my network, he was able to procure this house for half the asking price, which would have been impossible under any other circumstances. I would be delighted to discuss a similar arrangement with you. In fact, I've prepared a document with my own personal favorite opportunities. How kind of you, Gus. Your willingness to invest in Gazam showed you were a man after my own heart. I'd love to talk about how my network can benefit you personally. I am not looking to make any investments at the moment. Real estate is the best investment anyone can make. With the current economic situation, it only makes sense to put your money into such a tangible asset. But I also have a few other opportunities for you to make a side profit if real estate doesn't interest you. Is there any chance I can convince you? We can always say no. Is it going to be... Are you going to give me a plastic bag and send me around picking up bottles that I can exchange for money at the local frit? I knew you'd come around. Gus opened his briefcase and pulled out a thin dossier. He showed it to me. I'll do speeches. I will whore myself out on the speaking circuit, but... My first offer is, of course, real estate. No, there is a vineyard close to Erleroy, about a 1-hour drive from here. That also includes a large villa, a beautiful plot, but rather neglected, so there would be a fair amount of renovation costs. On the bright side, you would be able to produce your own wine. The previous owner was Girault of Ribéret, a world-renowned vintner. There's also the option of a football partnership. I already own a large portion of FC Enrica, and I'm doing my best to make them champions. Buying in would be more expensive than the vineyard, but this season will bring a lot of returns, I'm quite positive. Give me the word, and I will start the procurement process, but we must act quickly, as these options might soon disappear off the market. I don't think I can afford an investment right now. Somebody told me to invest in Armadine. Very well, do not blame me. Gus, this is a very high balcony and everyone here is drunk. If I walk back in there on my own, Gus, nobody's going to remember seeing us coming out here. Yeah, you go refresh your drink. I'll see you around. He left to rejoin the party. Alone on the balcony, I looked out over Erleroy. Suddenly, I heard a rustling from the hedge maze below. I looked down and saw a silhouette. 2 silhouettes, actually. So close together, they seemed to be entangled. I squinted and tried to get a better look. It was definitely 2 people kissing, but I couldn't see either of their faces. I returned to the party and spent some time mingling with the other guests, engaging them in small talk about their businesses, their children, their relationships. I realized it had been a while since Peter left. I looked around, but couldn't find him. Instead, my eyes landed on Ewald Alfonso. With a reluctant look in his eyes, the former president walked over to meet me. "Mr. Alfonso, I didn't know that you were also a member of Peter's club." "Isn't a party like this a little low class for a man like you? You know the rules, no politics." "Mr. President, is that an empty glass I see in your hand?" "Mr. Alfonso, I didn't know, I knew nothing about Peter's club. I didn't even know Peter's club existed until like 10 minutes ago." "I'm not. Gus and I were having a business dinner and he convinced me to come along afterwards. I saw you speaking to Mr. Manger earlier. Just briefly, I wasn't interested in what he was offering. He seems used to making deals with sitting presidents, but he and I won't be going into business. We talked, yes. It's always nice to get to know one's ministers outside of the Maroon Palace." We had a good chat together, back in Narble, as I recall, resulting in your very wise decision to invest Swordish money in Gazam. We're seeing growing interest from international investors, by the way. I'm optimistic about the results of Sordland's investment. Terrific! We need the money. I'm glad that Sordland could help your company thrive. And vice versa. We won't start telling him it's the only bailout you'll get. It is the only bailout you'll get, but we won't tell him that. Just then, Peter came up from behind us and threw an arm around each of our shoulders. "Look at you two, Sordland's bright future and its ancient, old grey-haired past. Peter, behave yourself. It's been an hour. Where were you?" "My apologies, Mr. Alfonso. My vice president's had a bit too much to drink." "Pardon me, Mr. President, but I've had exactly enough." "Well, Mr. Alfonso, have you been enjoying my hospitality?" Alfonso smiled politely. "Indeed I have, Mr. Vectrin. You've put together one hell of a gathering. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to have a quick word with the CEO of Swordish Petroleum." "He's here too? What a party!" We'll talk soon." Alfonso gave a brisk wave and walked off. Peter shifted his weight unsteadily. "Nice guy. I almost feel bad about the way we took him down." "Was that you in the hedge maze, Peter?" "I'll give you one more chance. Where were you?" "Was that you in the hedge maze, Peter?" "What are you talking about?" "While you were gone, I saw 2 people kissing in the hedge maze outside." "I'll be direct. Were you with that waitress?" "What? No, no, how could you even think that? I'm a married man." "All right, if you say so." "I do say so. Now who wants a drink? Besides me, of course." He poured 2 large glasses of whiskey and we drank them in one go. Throughout the party we drank and drank, just like old times. I woke up the next day with a pounding headache and more than a few regrets. My recollection of the evening was hazy, but there was one important detail that kept coming back to me. The red lipstick on Peter's collar. Well, if I was told about that earlier, I would have pushed him a bit more. But maybe my memory was playing tricks on me. Maybe we should pay another visit to Albin Claven. Let's check the news. They found some ink. BFF poisons Swordish schools. I wish they didn't find ink. Felix Braun's latest report reveals a troubling development in the ongoing fight against the Bludish Freedom Front. It has come to light that BFF propaganda has been found in schools that teach the Bludish... I thought they literally poisoned children. Okay, that propaganda, that's bad, but I thought they were literally poisoning children. Because they would do that. I think they did that at one stage, didn't they? So the government has to take immediate action to address the BFF's recruitment strategies. Progressive investment in rural development. The government's decision to invest in the Rooney Rural Development Investment Plan marks a promising step towards revitalising rural economies. And President Rain saves the day. So yeah, the religious freedom, that should keep the divils happy. Casaro Kibbener took a stab at the heart of the Bludish populace by banning Bludish language from being spoken at religious assemblies. If not for President Rain, this bill would have come to pass. Every single Blude should be grateful. Absolutely, they should be grateful. Sordland today, I like this. The radical could learn a thing or two from Sordland today. Sarna, oh no, because we're on the border with some regions, and this is going to be propaganda discovered in schools that teach in the Bludish language. Highlights the BFF's efforts to recruit and radicalise young people. Braun asks for the lawmakers to introduce a ban on the Bludish language as a primary education language and asks the government to enforce the national language of Sordland to everybody. Oh no. I was like, finally! A reference to the HSU fire investigation. We haven't heard from this in ages. Suspended. A lack of further evidence from the investigation into the fire has occurred at the Hallsword State University Archives. That's caused it to be suspended until further notice from the police and Sid. Who's Sid? The cordon has been lifted. Briefing on the status... Oh yeah, we were supposed to do this. We were drinking instead. We were in the middle of a meeting in the palace about our immigration policy. The ensuing discussion quickly became heated. I don't think so, Mr. Whiskey. It just doesn't make any sense to me that a foreign citizen should come before a Sordish citizen in Sordland, says Josef Lancia. Lilas Graf. Well said, I should say. My analysis is also in line with this, especially during the economic recession. We're giving Sordish jobs to migrants from other countries. What about our own people? Immigrants are the reason our economy is not completely unsalvageable, says David Whiskey. Look at Agnolian immigrants in England. They have revitalized the whole region and in turn boosted the economy of the entire country. Simone can attest to that. Statistically speaking, allowing immigrants to become part of the workforce contributes to our economy, but I agree that the current situation is very nuanced. Simone, you coward! With that said, we can't just tighten our immigration policy and expect the economy to stay the same. We need to put our economy and the recession at the forefront, especially in the wake of this insane feckin' trade war. Simone! Simone never gets heated, except trade wars. That's how you get Simone absolutely boiling with rage. I've never seen Simone this rattled. Everyone in the room turned to him in surprise. I'm sorry for losing my cool, Mr. President. I've been working day and night. I'm currently attempting to minimize the damage this trade war will do to Sordland. How's it looking? Is there a way out? I do not want to say anything too early, Mr. President. Thankfully, we have just started receiving financial aid from Arcasia. They gave us €2. And then what? We'll become their servants? First, they will place their warplanes in Erleroy. Then their armies will come, you will see. I do not approve of this decision at all. Fine, let's get invaded by Rumburg. You walking thumb. Don't be dramatic. We need to be friendly with our potential allies. Yeah, We need allies. Allies? Sordland has no allies and never did. That's why we have Rumburg on our border threatening to invade. Well said, Mr. Lancia. We can't be naive. Lilas, shut up. Gentlemen. You just going to ignore Lilas? Can we please get back on topic? Right. Sorry, Mr. Whiskey. As I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, look at the superpowers. Do you see them closing off their borders? Why do you think their economies are in such good shape? They are in their current state because they welcome immigration and use it to their advantage. They don't have bludish priests on their border going mad. We need to modernize and reach the level of the superpowers. I agree that we need to consider the economic impact of immigration. Our money flow should be our utmost concern if we want to have the capability to accomplish actual change and not sink into bankruptcy. We need a decision, but before we move on, Mr. President, do you have any questions about the current state of immigration? What is the current legal status of immigrants? How many immigrants live in Sordland? How do immigrants usually arrive here? What's the legal status? Currently, all accepted immigrants are given a work permit on arrival so that they can work and contribute to the economy of Sordland. There is currently no limit on the number of immigrants accepted. However, the number has remained stable over the past years. Despite the laws, the fact is many immigrants illegally work for corporations. That is the main issue with immigration right now, not the immigration itself. But if they're all given work visas, then how are they illegally working? Nonsense! If not for the unlimited amount of immigration, we wouldn't be in this state. How many immigrants live here? Official numbers show that we have anywhere between 2 to 3 million immigrants residing in Sordland, out of a population of? 13. Even excluding the countless undocumented aliens in our midst, that is a very substantial amount. The primary issue is the strife they cause between less fortunate Sordish citizens and themselves. I suppose maybe there's the undocumented would be people entering illegally and working illegally for corporations, including them in the workforce, would benefit everybody, including unemployed Sords. More taxes means more services. How do immigrants usually arrive here? There are 3 major paths they choose. The first one is the England to Agnolia border, the second is Bergia to Wayland border, and the third is the Lorraine coast. So that is up there in the corner. Up here? There we go. Agnolians are the largest group. It's a light border over there, although recently political fugitives from Valgsland have been crossing the Grey Sea by boat to land on our coast. Politically persecuted Wezek refugees tend to use the dangerous mountain pass at the Wayland border. Many of them also have bludish blood. There is significantly increasing the blood populace inside Bergia. Let's move on and see what can be done about the immigration situation. Very well. David Whiskey opened his dossier, stamped with the seal of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Before we make any decisions, I have to remind you. During the elections, we promised to keep our immigration laws relaxed, which I think is the right course of action. I disagree, says Joseph Lancia. We are supposed to control and reduce the negative effects of immigration, like crime and subversion. I see your point, Joseph, but the economy certainly benefits from more immigration. Internal order, on the other hand, suffers immensely. Lilas, that's why I gave you money to form a secret police. We should tighten the laws to prevent further chaos. You should get the secret police to do jobs. David sighed wearily. This is going nowhere. If we decide to tighten immigration, what does that entail? What are the consequences of keeping our immigration policy relaxed? Aside from keeping us on the path to prosperity, modernity, and continuous improvement, not much. Our current system is good for our era. We also have the capacity. This will allow us to continue protecting investments from foreign countries, which in turn will keep our trade steady. We would be more trustworthy partners. Stability draws money. Stability? What stability? We are already seeing clashes between our people and foreign interlopers. On the contrary, the only way we can achieve stability is through tightening our immigration policy. You heard the lady. Sordland first. I'm ready to make my decision. If it was kind of like we have 3 different options, I'd just leave Agnolia and Lorraine keep coming in and block off Bludia. Basically block off that mountain path that they're all apparently using. But if we can't be that nuanced, we're going to maintain our relaxed immigration laws. We will be forced to handle new waves of migrants from Agnolia. That's fine. Our border posts aren't ready. Give them all guns and point them at Sordland. Alright, no, Rumburg. Not only that, we've just abandoned the native swords, who need our support the most. Also, this will bring a new tide of refugees from Wayland. That's the problem. This is shameful. Your face is shameful. We're not leaving Sordland unprotected. It is a logical decision. The citizens of Sordland aren't forgotten. Our work for them continues. We're not leaving Sordland unprotected. You were wrong about this. There is a reason why this country has survived the century of revolutions. I hope hard-working swords will see this as positively as you do, Mr. President. Anything else, Mr. President? Let's end the discussion and get to work. I want everybody here to get used to the new changes. The new changes which don't change anything. Thank you for your contributions. Let's wrap this up. I'm sick of looking at you people. The ministers gathered their documents and rose from their chairs, some with frowns on their faces. There we go. I'm looking forward to the upcoming trade talks. Peter and I have been visiting Stahlport and that place in preparation. I'll be coming along to talk with the economy minister. Looking forward to the potential partnership, says Simone. If we're finished, I need to head off and get the ministry to work on there's no new policy. It's the same policy it's always been. Same here. Our border units need to be informed and prepared. Yes. Keep up the good work. Good job, Joseph. GG. Hell's bells. So many updates. Streamlined immigration, it's orange. So we've made strides in addressing illegal immigration. The new policy has closed several loopholes that were previously exploited, leading to a reduction in the number of illegal immigrants. Additionally, the streamlined legal immigration processes have made it easier for those who want to immigrate to the country legally to do so. And do we have another one? Nationwide protest quelled. GG, Secret Police. Law and order have been restored throughout the country as the nationwide protests have been quelled thanks to the devoted efforts of the security forces. And we have relaxed immigration as a policy. So hopefully that will turn that frown upside down, whatever about the frown on Josef Lancia's face or the one on what's her name? Lila's graph. So we have the open. Oh no! Oh god! Oh, I hope nobody told the wife. The opening of the Benfey Festival. The ATO advocates for resolution amid tensions in the Gulf of Rica. Tensions they created. In a rapidly evolving political landscape, the Gulf of Rica has emerged as a significant focal point for global attention, with the recent changes in air quotes in Libya's leadership resulting in a shift towards a more nationalist government. Tensions between the Arcassian Third Fleet and the United Kantanan Rica Fleet have escalated. Unfortunately, United Kantana's decision to enact a blockade in the Gulf, an essential conduit for worldwide commerce, has led to significant ripple effects on the global trade scenario. The ATO is actively working towards facilitating a diplomatic dialogue to ensure a swift and peaceful resolution, safeguarding global economic interests. CSP stands firm on Gulf of Rica blockade. They're having none of it. In the aftermath of the leadership transition, in air quotes, in Libya, the United Kantanan Rica Fleet was compelled to safeguard the Gulf of Rica, a move made necessary by the prevailing circumstances. Central Bank drafts economic recovery proposal in an effort to mitigate economic damages. Halsor's central bank is working on a new proposal. Stop spending money. I like it. I like the sound of it. Report from the Ministry of Interior. Some portion of the budget was transferred specifically to local police forces that are fighting against organised crime in northern Sordland, which have already made successful gains in the war against crime. The ministry reports that the two major business rings of the two crime families, Connolly and Skinner, have been shut down and several high-ranking members have been arrested. There you go. See, Lilas, you can do great work when you actually get to work. Wayland condemns Arcassian financial aid. President Smollett has condemned Sordland for accepting financial aid from Arcassia. He said that cooperating with Arcassia will only bring trouble to the region and warned Sordland for falling into the trap of the West's neo-colonialist agenda. Smollett also blamed Arcassian President Dwight Walker for trying to dominate eastern Maricopa and exploit its resources. Its resources are my entire lack of money. The economy is in danger. Chancellor Inos emphasizes neutrality, just like me. Neutral handing over the use of the country to Arcassia. Has publicly supported Sordland's, you see? Yeah, Sordland's neutrality, there you go. Amid ongoing attempts by superpower alliances to exert influence. By maintaining its neutral stance, emphasizes the importance of independent decision-making for the Sordish nation and advocates for peace, stability, and autonomy. Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you for being my friend. Uh-oh. Wait, privatization? The Chancellor of Valgsland has voiced his concerns over potential privatization measures being considered. Yeah, we're not, I don't know, did I accidentally tell somebody to begin privatizing the healthcare system? Maybe we thought it was a good idea at the time. He expressed a desire for Sordland to consider a more equitable approach to economic development, perhaps taking cues from Valgsland's own socialist policies. Socialism, you say? Galcondism, you say? They rally against Sordland. A recent religious rally by the Galcondis, in whatever language they want because of the religious freedoms that I gave them, turned into a political demonstration against Sordland and its constitution. The rally, which was initially intended to be a peaceful gathering, quickly escalated into a protest against what the Galcondis see as an unjust and evil government. Their leaders have been actively promoting these views to their followers, who have been receptive to the message. The government is urged to monitor the activities of the Galcondis. The secret police will monitor the activities of the Galcondis. The opening of the Benfey Festival. Uh-oh. Our motorcade slowly made its way towards the magnificent Benfey High Arts Centre. Night was falling, and the festival was about to begin. I flipped through the brochure that had been given to us at the hotel. On the front page, there was the face, not of my wife, but of Curtin Leste. Mayor of Anrica. He was a Benfi native who had a long-standing relationship with the city's current mayor, and had been personally invited to make tonight's opening speech. The Benfi Festival was one of the biggest events of the year. It originally marked the start of the annual religious pilgrimage, a weeks-long journey still undertaken by devout Neurists, but today it was better known as a cultural celebration that drew thousands of revelers to the city. If he calls for women to be outlawed, my wife is just going to be like, I told you, should have let me make a speech. That's my fear. He's going to call for women to be banned. There were film screenings, concerts, theatre and dance performances, art exhibitions, and celebrity-studded nightly galas. The opening ceremonies were broadcast on TV and watched by millions. That'd be a fantastic place to make a pro-feminist speech. As the car slowed, a courtier of reporters and security guards rushed to meet us. I turned my attention to Monica. Since I'd refused to let her make the opening speech, her attitude towards me had changed. She now only spoke to me if I asked her a question, or if it was something important concerning the children. Yeah, will you ever forgive me? I told you my reasons. I know and I understand. It's just going to take me some time. She clearly did not want to pursue this topic any further. As soon as Serge opened the door, we were enveloped by the roar of the crowd. The next few minutes were a blur of handshakes, photos, and reporters' questions. The onlookers cheered as we walked the red carpet to the newly built art centre. We followed the guards through the cavernous white halls until we came to a set of arched doors leading to the auditorium. We waited outside as security did a quick sweep of the area, then headed in. Has anyone checked my wife for weapons? I had been asked to make a quick set of remarks introducing Curtin Leslie. I beckoned Monica to join me on the podium. Oh, rub it in. I'm going to find my seat. Oh, we'll be in the doghouse tonight. Monica brushed past me, took her seat in the front row and crossed her arms. I walked alone to the podium. I spoke for just a minute, reading a paragraph my speechwriter had churned out about the importance of the festival and Benfi to Sordland. I concluded by inviting Curtin Leslie, the mayor of Anrica, to the podium. I stepped down and joined Monica in the front row. Her arms were still folded. Welcome to the first day of the Benfi Festival. He paused for a moment to let the crowd cheer, and his eyes briefly met mine. We'll nod. I nodded. This is a night for the people of Benfi, indeed for the people of Sordland, but specifically the men, to put aside their differences and come together in celebration. Yet as we unite for the festivities, we must remember the real reason we are gathered here. The crowd fell silent. The people were giving their full attention to what he had to say. This festival was founded around the principles of our cherished religion, Neutrality. Yet over the years it has been severed from its sacred roots and become something else, something more perverse. An excuse for public drunkenness and grotesque displays of the flesh. An occasion for young women to parade their bodies and engage in lascivious behavior. As he went on, I could see Monica becoming increasingly agitated. What in the hell is he talking about? What century does he think we live in? I don't know. Just let it be. Monica turned back to watching the speech, a frown on her face. Perversion hidden under the guise of art is not befitting the beautiful city of... The crowd was becoming restless. Many of the younger attendees were murmuring in disagreement, while a few of the older ones were nodding vigorously. As I said, perversion hidden under the guise of art is not but... Enough! Screams Monica. The whole fell silent. Monica rose and continued. Mr. Leslie, it is not young women who are a disgrace to this fine festival, but you and your backwards, puritanical attitudes, which have been holding this country back for far too long. There's nothing I can do. I can't, Mr. Leste, I would, if I could, I can't do anything. All I can do is just sit here and watch. Monica turned to face the audience, speaking loud enough to be heard without a microphone. Women of Sordland, we must not let people like Mr. Leste use religion as a justification to demean and oppress us. Our time has come. Shocked gasps ran through the crowd. A few people rose and applauded. Curtin Leste waited to speak. I think Mrs. Rain is forgetting her place. What do you think my place is, Mr. Leste? The kitchen? This festival is not about your retrograde traditions. We are living in modern times now. It's 1954. And it isn't your place to decide how the people of Benfey, especially the women, should be celebrating their own festival. I'm powerless. I can't do anything. I looked at the podium to see Curtin Leste's piercing gaze on me. There would surely be a price to... What did I do? Mr. President, could you please control your wife before she embarrasses herself any further? Oh no, what are we going to do? So, we decided to back him. Well, I think this has worked splendidly. You see, if we had parachuted the wife in, we would have looked absolutely abysmal. He's now actually made himself out to be the villain. You know what, Curtin? My wife is absolutely right. Monica looked at me, surprise registering on her face. Thank you, Anton. I turned to Curtin. But we will take up her concerns at a later time. Please continue. Your task was to give an opening speech, not a moral lecture. I will finish my speech if you'll allow it, Mr. President. That's up to the people of Benfey, isn't it? I turned around to look at the crowd. The people immediately started booing Curtin. Uh-oh, somebody's re-election chances are going down the drain. He ignored them and continued his speech. Benfey has always been a beacon of culture, tradition and religion. Many battles have been fought over this precious city. Army after army has tried to claim it for their own, but we fought back and won each time. We stand here thanks to the strong men who were able to protect their families, their lands, their way of living, the strong men who were able to control their wives. Every day I praise God that we have succeeded so far. Scattered applause broke out from some of the older members of the audience. I leaned over to Monica. Monica, I planned all of this. I planned all of this from the very start. He's a bit extreme, but he's right. He sounds more like a priest than a politician. I praise God he's only allowed to speak for another 2 minutes. I think that's a bit too kind of... Hey, look at us, we're buddies again, aren't we? He sounds more like a priest than a politician. I do not like it when the two collide. Yet the traditions that form the very fabric of our society are being tested, even as I speak. He looked pointedly at Monica. This is what we get when women are allowed to leave the house. We must stay true to our values so that Sordland can prevail, so that Benfey can prevail. With these at the forefront, I am convinced that Sordland will continue to be the greatest nation in the world. I invite every single one of you to celebrate our roots and our traditions at this holy Benfey festival. I hereby declare the festival open. Praise God, praise Sordland, praise Benfey. Amorgna Wescor. Vectran Sista. Most of the people in the hall finished the decades-old saying, including me. Monica's lips moved, but she didn't say the words out loud. He exited the stage as the band struck up the official festival anthem. I spent the rest of the evening alternately watching the festivities and conversing with local politicians. By the time we got back to the hotel, I was exhausted. But thanks to the festivities, still raging outside, and the sound of Monica tossing and turning beside me, I couldn't sleep at all. Monica, I planned all of this. I did this for you, Monica. Uh-oh. Wayland deploying special forces to Vernon. So the city of Vernon has been put under curfew along with seven other towns in the northeast of the country. The Wessex army has deployed specially trained military forces in to combat the militant organisation known as the Bludish Freedom Front. Good, somebody should deal with those devils. Wayland has increased its efforts in fighting terrorism with aerial campaigns and ground operations. This operation will surely have consequences for the region, particularly for the neighbouring countries of Lesbia, Rumburg, and particularly Sordland. Sordland? Oh wait, no, that's us! Oh no, that's right on the border, no! Somebody ring Joseph Lancia. So we've downtime at home. The governor of Bergia reports hundreds of BFF collaborators. Why can't we just be BFFs? We have a couple of reports. I might get through that downtime at home. See if the wife will let me out of the doghouse. The Ministry of the Interior has reported that after the police raid on Skinner and Corinelli's cartel's supply chain, their activities have reduced in the region. See, Leelus? Protests and looting. So occasional looting is fine. That's fine. Uh-oh. Reports from our border and the Wessex city, Vernon, show that there are about 1,000 people running away from Wessex military forces towards the Swordish border. I thought it would be the Bloods that'd be crossing. Are we trying to go on a trade mission to Wayland? I would take those soldiers. The governor of Bergia, Felix Braun, suspects that hundreds of BFF collaborators are living inside Dyer, posing a significant threat to national security. So, proposed a series of measures. Increased surveillance. If only we had a secret police. He has the special zone. Well, do you know what? He should probably use the proposed measures raise concerns about potential violations of civil liberties, and it's recommended that the government follow the actions of the governor closely and ensure that he does not violate his authority. This is what we want to do. Damn. Yeah, we are going on a diplomatic mission to Eldoran. So, Agnolia and Wayland. And those devils have been giving out about me like mad. I'm kind of disappointed we didn't go with Lesbia now. I think I was hoping that relations might have already been A-OK-ish with Lesbia. So there is... I saw the little... oh, there you go. We can actually click on it and get some info. So, Arcasia deciding to enact coups in various different places, and we've kind of effectively... I won't say supported it, but we most certainly haven't condemned it. We've given them facilities to refuel. It felt like eternity since the Benfey Festival. Had it really been less than 24 hours? I was at home now, drinking an afternoon coffee on my balcony. A stack of newspapers lay by my side. I picked them up one by one, reading and rereading the articles about the festival. Some of the newspapers were merciless against Monica for interrupting Curtin during his speech. A few even called for her to be barred from political matters. Others expressed their support. In any event, I was relieved that the incident hadn't reflected too badly on me. That is the most important thing. I was putting the last newspaper down as Monica joined me on the balcony. Listen, can we talk for a bit? I don't know, can we? Do I have to ask you... Will you only talk to me if I ask you questions? If this is about the news, I know what you're going to say. Of course, what is it? Yeah, you see, I can only if I ask questions. Monica sat and picked up the nearest newspaper. She pointed out a particularly insulting headline on the front page. I never in a million years would have wished for this. I just wanted to thank you for supporting me and apologize for creating such a spectacle. All I wanted was to bring the people of Sordland together, the way you're able to, but not like this. Her eyes were getting moist. A single tear fell onto the newsprint. If you're going to succeed in this, you have to be stronger. I did warn you, but you wouldn't listen to me, you silly woman. If you're going to succeed in this, you will have to be stronger, I'm afraid. Or become an alcoholic. Oh, Anton. Her eyes filled with gratitude. I could see she'd slept as little as I had since the festival. Thank you. One more thing. You know how stubborn I am. Perhaps the festival wasn't the proper forum to air my views on women's rights. Wow, what? That's... If only somebody had thought like this earlier. But I still need to do this, Anton. I want to officially adopt this cause as First Lady, to actually get involved in politics, not just give impromptu speeches. I could even help your education minister. Oh God. I know this is something you're passionate about as well. Can I count on you? Of course, my love. I'm looking forward to working closer together. Leave politics to politicians. Of course, my love. I'm looking forward to working closer together. Oh, I won't be able to drink as much at the office now. Monica hugged me tightly, and I felt some of the past day's tension melt away. A noise came from the balcony door. We both turned our heads to see Dina standing there. Mama, I'm hungry. Let's go to the kitchen. I'll make Papa the best snack ever. Yeah! They left the balcony and returned half an hour later with a large cookie. Dina had written my name in icing on it. I hope she's written Mr. President. As I sipped my coffee and nibbled the cookie, I thought that I'd made the right choice. Things were going to get harder, but at least my life at home was somewhat peaceful. That would have been a fantastic opportunity for Frank to come trundling down the stairs and interrupt everything. Right, let's see how things stand. Uh-oh. Arcassian access to the Erleroy base. We have an economic report. And we have a big whole heap of madness. Positive presidential approval rating. A discussion on the formation of a new police force. Budget allocation. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's going to be fun. A new approval rating poll has shown that we have landed above a 50% presidential approval rating. Our administration's good performance has been confirmed with the diverse poll taken by 1,000 respondents from all of the regions of Sordland except for Bergia, because we are not going to ask those divils what they think about nothing. Right. On this episode, I have managed to sink the economy into danger territory. Economic stability no longer exists. I didn't do this, the trade war did. I had nothing to do with this. We got some newspapers. Workers at the Crossroads, Malignevism versus Arcassian capitalism. So I'm favoring Arcassia to kind of represent how embedded to the Western system Ireland is. And how pretty much unable to break from it we are. So there's a lot of... actually, as I make this episode, it is the 4th of March, 2026. 11 days to St. Patrick's Day. Is it the 15th or the 17th? I've actually forgotten. It's under 2 weeks to St. Patrick's Day. And Micheál Martin will have to travel to the White House. to present Donald Trump with a big glass bowl of shamrock. And we've seen, since the attack, which began a couple of days ago, the US and Israel attack on Iran, we've seen the German Taoiseach, Merz, we've seen him having to sit there and just kind of like stare at the floor as Trump has ranted and raved about various different things. So that's going to happen as well in a couple of days' time with Micheál Martin, and that's going to create a lot of reactions in the Irish media, especially. There's lots of calls for him to not attend. If he doesn't attend, and that's taken as an insult, that could heavily impact the Irish economy. I think the entire Irish tax take, 30% of the Irish tax take, is dependent on 10 American companies. So Ireland is heavily indebted to the US. It's heavily kind of embedded in and dependent on the goodwill of the US. And so I'm trying to kind of replicate that here, and the trouble that it is creating, especially for the current Irish government, the trouble that is being created by the current US administration. So it would kind of seem weird for Anton Rain to all of a sudden start supporting Arcasia when he had the ability to support the CSP, especially as we've committed to protectionist policies and to neutrality. But again, neutrality is a policy of the Irish government, and it's one that they're trying to enact while also trying to provide facilities to the US military, or the US Air Force in limited quantities. But there you go. So that's what I'm trying to kind of create here. So I did decide fairly early on that I was going to commit myself to Arcasia in a way that Anton Rain probably wouldn't in this game, but in a way that we'd say the current Irish regime would find itself committed to the US. But we've plenty of madness, skilled immigrants, catalyst for economic growth, First Lady steps up. So we'll go over all of these again at the start of the next episode. Thank you very much for joining me on this one. I've been having great fun with this series, and please include in the comment section your CV for the position of Vice President of Sordland, because I think we're going to need a new one soon enough.